People spend their entire lives trying to protect their image, defend their reputation, and convince others they are good, honest, worthy, respectable. And every time they try to defend themselves, they unknowingly reveal the very weakness they're trying to hide. Because the moment you start explaining yourself, the moment you start proving yourself, the moment you try to justify your choices or your existence, you have already lost the power. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that people who defend themselves signal fear, and fear is the scent predators lock onto. If you want to flip power instantly, you must understand one truth. The strong never defend themselves. They let their actions, their silence, and their results do the talking. Because defense is a reaction, and reaction belongs to the powerless. In human psychology, the moment someone accuses you, criticizes you, or challenges you, they're attempting to pull you into their frame. They want you to respond. They want you to fight on their battlefield. They want you to react within their rules. But when you defend yourself, you accept their frame. You agree that their judgment matters. You tell them their opinion is legitimate. And by doing that, you hand them the authority they didn't actually have. The instant you defend yourself, you lower yourself. You bend. You explain. You submit. And people feel this. They sense the imbalance immediately. Their respect for you drops, even if they can't describe why. You've just shown them you care what they think, a fatal mistake for anyone who wants influence, power, or dominance. Because here's the dark truth. Humans are far more persuaded by confidence than by correctness. They trust certainty more than facts, and nothing communicates certainty like refusing to justify yourself. Silence, indifference, a calm stare, the unshakable posture of someone who knows they do not need to prove anything. That alone flips power in an instant. They attack, you don't respond. They judge you, you don't explain. They push, you don't move. And suddenly they feel small, confused, unsure. Their attack bounces off an invisible wall. This is the Machiavellian trick. What looks like weakness to ordinary people is actually dominance in disguise. When someone accuses you, your instinct, your emotional instinct, is to fight back. Humans hate being misunderstood. They hate being falsely accused. They hate being misrepresented. It threatens their identity. And because identity is the most precious thing we have, people panic. That panic pushes them to explain, justify, defend. But the moment your emotions dictate your actions, you are manipulable. The moment you react automatically, you become predictable. Machiavelli warns you, any predictable person is a controllable person. The powerful do not react emotionally. They respond strategically, or they do not respond at all. They do not try to fix misunderstandings, because they understand that in human psychology, the more you try to fix an image, the more broken it looks. The more you clarify something, the more suspicious people become. The more words you use to defend yourself, the more they feel you're hiding something. So instead of pouring energy into image repair, Machiavellian thinkers let the image repair itself through time, results, and outcomes. If someone says you're incompetent, defending yourself makes you look incompetent. Remaining calm and continuing to win makes the accusation disappear on its own. If someone says you're arrogant, defending yourself makes you look insecure. Remaining composed and focused makes the criticism irrelevant. If someone says you're wrong, defending yourself validates their frame. Staying silent forces them to question their own. This is psychological judo. You conserve your energy while their own force collapses onto them. In the world of power, silence is not emptiness. Silence is a message. Silence is a wall. Silence is a test. And people reveal who they are when confronted with silence. The insecure become louder. The guilty become aggressive. The manipulative become desperate. The envious become exposed. But the wise remain calm, and the powerful remain unfazed. Silence separates the strong from the weak with brutal clarity. But what makes this strategy so effective is that it weaponizes human nature. Humans project. When you do not explain yourself, people will try to fill in the silence. But here's the trick. They will fill it in based on their own insecurities, their own fears, their own assumptions, and that means their thoughts end up exposing them, not you. Silence becomes a mirror. You reflect nothing, so they project everything. And whatever they project reveals their true motives. Think of the last time someone tried to make you defend yourself. Think of that feeling, a knot in your stomach, the heat in your face, the tension in your chest. That's the body reacting to a threat. Your biology pushes you to protect your reputation immediately, instinctively. But this is precisely where power is either gained or lost. Because power is not about doing what feels good. Power is about doing what works. In that moment of accusation, you have two choices: fall into the emotional trap and defend yourself, or rise above it and control the narrative through silence, confidence, and detachment. People will push harder when you don't respond. They will test you. They will wonder why their words cannot shake you. They will become confused, irritated, and eventually intimidated. Because humans fear what they cannot read, and nothing is harder to read than someone who doesn't feel the need to explain themselves. When people cannot predict you, they fear you. When they cannot influence you, they respect you. When they cannot pull you into their frame, they start operating inside yours. This is the shift. This is the flip. You become the one who defines the rules of engagement. They attack, you stay still. They accuse, you remain unmoved. They try to drag you into their emotional chaos. You choose calm, and in that calmness, you reveal your power. Machiavelli said that rulers are respected not because they are loved, but because they are perceived as strong. Strength is not loud. Strength is not defensive. Strength is not frantic. Strength is measured, deliberate, and indifferent to petty noise. And when you stop defending yourself, you show the world that you do not recognize their authority to judge you. That is the heart of the power shift. When you do not grant authority, no one can use it against you. People defend themselves because they fear losing approval. Machiavellian thinkers understand that seeking approval is the surest way to lose it. Humans do not admire those who chase them. They admire those who remain unmoved, unbothered, unattached. Those who do not explain themselves radiate a mysterious confidence that pulls people in. Because while everyone else is desperate to be understood, the powerful remain a puzzle. And people respect puzzles more than they respect open books. But there is more to this strategy than silence. Silence is only the first layer. The real power comes from what you do after the silence. Because refusing to defend yourself means nothing if you are not backing it with a strong identity. You must become someone whose actions speak louder than accusations. The more you win, the more irrelevant criticism becomes. The more you rise, the more petty attacks look like jealousy. The more focused you remain, the more your silence becomes interpreted as strength instead of weakness. Do you know why kings never defend themselves? Because kings do not speak to peasants. Their authority is unquestionable. Their presence is the justification. Their results are the evidence. In modern life, nobody is a literal king, but you can adopt the mentality. You can operate from such a high level of self-assurance that explaining yourself feels absurd. When someone attacks you, your internal response becomes, "I don't answer to you." Not in anger, not in arrogance, but in simple truth. People only defend themselves when they think someone else's opinion has power over their life. Machiavellian thinkers detach from that entirely. They do not grant that power to anyone. They do not allow others to dictate their emotions, their image, or their identity. And because they refuse to play the defensive game, they control the pace and direction of every interaction. Imagine this scenario. Someone spreads a rumor about you. Most people panic. They correct, clarify, chase, beg, plead. But the Machiavellian mind understands something deeper. Rumors only survive when they are fed. When you react, you give them oxygen. When you defend yourself, you make the rumor seem legitimate. When you stay silent, you suffocate it. People assume that if something were truly damaging, you would address it. So when you don't, they conclude it must be meaningless. Or worse for your enemies, they conclude the rumor spreaders are jealous. This is the reversal. The ones who attack you end up hurting themselves. They scream. You stay silent. They look emotional. You look composed. They look insecure. You look powerful. They try to expose you. They expose themselves. And the more intensely they push, the more ridiculous they appear. Silence is not just a shield, it's a trap. And those who attack you walk right into it. But silence alone is not enough. You need a psychological strategy underneath it. Here is the inner framework of someone who never defends themselves. First, they have nothing to prove. They do not seek validation. They do not need approval. They derive their identity from within, not from external opinion. When you no longer depend on others to define you, you can no longer be manipulated by their judgments. Second, they understand framing. They know that the person who speaks last holds the frame. They know that defending yourself means entering someone else's frame, and once you enter it, you have already lost. Third, they master emotional neutrality. They do not let accusations disturb their inner world. Their silence is not passive, it is disciplined. They choose stillness because stillness wins. Fourth, they rely on aligned action. Their reputation is built not on words, but on consistent behavior. Over time, their actions destroy any false narrative without them needing to say a single sentence. Fifth, they embrace ambiguity. They allow others to wonder. They allow others to guess. They allow others to interpret. Ambiguity is power because clarity invites attack, while mystery invites caution. These 5 principles make defending yourself unnecessary. You stop explaining because there is nothing within you that feels threatened. You stop reacting because there is no part of you that fears judgment. And when that fear dissolves, the world begins responding to you differently. People challenge the weak. They test the soft. They attack the reactive. But the minute they sense you are not reactive, their attitude shifts. Your indifference makes them question their approach. Your calmness disrupts their strategy. Your lack of defense makes them feel foolish. The entire dynamic changes. Humans are deeply sensitive to social hierarchy. They unconsciously gravitate toward those who seem unshakable and distance themselves from those who seem fragile. When you refuse to defend yourself, you signal immense psychological strength. People interpret your silence as superiority. They assume you know something they don't. They assume you are operating on a higher level. They assume you are confident enough not to care. And once they assume you are powerful, they treat you as if you are powerful. That is the Machiavellian magic. You behave as if you are above the attack, and people automatically place you above it. But this strategy isn't only for conflict. It works in relationships, friendships, business, and social life. The less you defend yourself, the more people try to understand you. The more people try to understand you, the more they think about you. The more they think about you, the more power you have over their emotional world. Mystery creates magnetism. Indifference creates respect. Calmness creates fear in the insecure, and silence creates authority. When someone says, "You changed," the insecure person says, "No, I'm still the same." The powerful person says nothing and keeps elevating. When someone says, "I heard you did something wrong," the insecure person tries to correct the story. The powerful person keeps moving and lets time correct it. When someone says, "People are talking about you," the insecure person panics. The powerful person doesn't react because they know that people talk about anyone worth noticing. Every attempt to defend yourself steals a piece of your inner power. Every time you explain yourself, you cut off a slice of your authority, and every time you react emotionally, you feed the very narrative you want to destroy. The secret? You cannot be hurt by words if you refuse to respond to them. You cannot be controlled by opinions you do not respect. You cannot be trapped in a narrative you do not participate in. Machiavelli understood that the greatest power is the ability to walk through attacks untouched. Not because people don't aim at you, but because their arrows pass through smoke. To the powerful, accusations are shadows. Criticism is noise. Rumors are dust. A lion does not defend himself to sheep, not because he is arrogant, but because he simply does not recognize them as threats. And that is the state you must cultivate, unbothered, unmoved, uninterested in explaining. Because the moment you stop defending yourself, you stop giving away your power. And the moment you stop giving away your power, the world begins returning it to you in ways you never expected. There comes a moment in every powerful person's life when they realize something strange. The less they say, the more others reveal. When you stop defending yourself, people begin to expose their intentions without you doing anything at all. Some will grow uncomfortable with your silence. Others will try harder to provoke you. A few will secretly admire you, and the rest will start adjusting their behavior around you. This is not accidental. This is psychological gravity. You become a center of weight in the room, and people unconsciously orbit around you. Human beings are not drawn to those who constantly justify themselves. They're drawn to those whose presence feels grounded, solid, unshakable. Someone who defends themselves appears light, unstable, easily moved. Someone who refuses to defend themselves appears heavy, anchored, rooted in something deeper. When you stop reacting to every attack, people realize your emotional world cannot be penetrated. That alone commands respect more than any argument ever could. People often misunderstand strength. They think strength is loud. They think strength is confrontational. They think strength is stepping up to every challenge and proving yourself every time someone doubts you. That's not strength. That's insecurity dressed as strength. True power is quiet. True power is strategic. True power is choosing when to speak and when to remain silent. Most importantly, true power is knowing that not every battle is worthy of a warrior. When someone tries to provoke you, they are trying to steal your attention. Attention is energy. Attention is currency. Attention is power. And the moment you start defending yourself, you hand them your energy. You pay them with your attention. You give them the currency they were desperately seeking. Nothing feels more humiliating to an attacker than being completely ignored. It starves them. It breaks their rhythm. It makes their strategy collapse in real time. But silence doesn't only damage your enemies. It strengthens your allies. When the people around you see that you stay calm under pressure, they trust you more. They feel safer around you. They interpret your composure as leadership. Humans are psychologically wired to follow those who appear in control of themselves and their environment. And nothing demonstrates self-control better than refusing to be dragged into pointless emotional battles. Imagine being in a room where someone calls you out, tries to embarrass you, or accuses you. Most people would react immediately. They would defend themselves, justify themselves, fight back. But the powerful person listens quietly, nods, remains still, and then continues as if nothing was said. The entire room shifts. People look at the attacker and wonder why they seem so obsessed. They look at you and see someone who cannot be shaken. This is how reputations of strength are born. Not through speeches or explanations, but through consistent emotional mastery. People remember moments of calm in the face of chaos. They remember the one who didn't flinch. They remember the one who stayed grounded. And those memories build legends around you. But remember, silence is not passivity. Silence is an active weapon. It is a tactic. It is chosen. You do not stay silent because you are intimidated. You stay silent because the battlefield is not worth stepping onto. You do not defend yourself because you understand that defending is what the attacker wants. And the moment you give someone what they want, they gain leverage over you. Machiavelli teaches that power comes from controlling the frame. The frame is the lens through which the situation is seen. If someone accuses you, the frame becomes, you must explain yourself. The moment you defend yourself, you accept that frame. But when you do not respond, or you respond in a neutral, detached way, you break the frame completely. You signal that the premise of their accusation is irrelevant to you. And now the room has no choice but to consider your frame instead. Your frame says, this is not important. Your frame says, I do not owe anyone answers. Your frame says, I am above this conversation. Your frame says, your attempt to provoke me has failed. And people follow the stronger frame. Always. But to use this to its maximum power, you must understand the deeper psychological layers beneath it. Humans are driven by perception more than reality. They respond to how things look before they think about what things mean. When you remain silent, you create a perception of mastery. When you refuse to defend yourself, you create a perception of authority. When you continue moving forward, you create a perception of dominance. Perception becomes reality. And in a world ruled by perception, the one who controls the narrative without speaking becomes untouchable. But what about situations where the accusation is serious? What about moments when the silence feels dangerous? Here is where the Machiavellian strategy goes deeper. You do not defend yourself reactively, you respond proactively. Instead of addressing the accusation directly, you reinforce a larger image of strength and consistency. You keep building your reputation through your actions. You stay focused on your mission. You separate yourself from the noise through excellence. The world eventually chooses what to believe, and the world always believes the person who behaves like they are telling the truth. not the person who talks the most. Someone who keeps winning is more believable than someone who keeps explaining. But the real secret is this. When you stay silent long enough, people start defending you on your behalf. They fill the silence with their own reasoning. They rationalize your calmness. They protect the version of you they've built in their minds. Some will say, if they didn't respond, it must not be true. Others will say, they're too focused on bigger things to address this. And a few will say, this seems like jealousy. Your silence becomes a blank canvas on which others paint the most favorable interpretation. Your silence becomes a story others tell for you. Your silence becomes your armor. This is the subtle power that ordinary people never understand. They think defending is strength. They think explaining is clarity. They think justification protects them. They do not realize that defending yourself makes you look weak. Explaining makes you look guilty. And justification makes you look insecure. To unlock Machiavelli's power, you must break free from the emotional impulse to be understood. You must be willing to let people misunderstand you. You must be willing to let people think whatever they will think. And you must be strong enough to walk through their opinions like a ghost, untouched, unaffected, uninterested. Because if you cannot handle being misunderstood, you cannot handle rising above the crowd. The higher you climb, the more rumors you attract. The more successful you become, the more you threaten those who haven't succeeded. The more confident you appear, the more insecure people try to tear you down. But every attack is useless if you refuse to participate. Machiavelli observed that silence destabilizes attackers because it deprives them of feedback. Humans rely on feedback to calibrate their strategies. If they insult you and you react, they know the attack worked. If they lie about you and you defend yourself, they know they hit a sensitive point. If they provoke you and you try to explain, they know they have emotional leverage. But when you stay unreadable, when you stay still, when you stay silent, they have no clue what their attack accomplished. This uncertainty terrifies them. It forces them into mental overdrive. They begin doubting themselves. They start imagining outcomes. They wonder if you're planning something. They wonder if you see them as unworthy. They wonder why their attack didn't land. You flip the power dynamic simply by not responding. They become the one who feels judged. They become the one who feels watched. They become the one who feels inferior. This is the psychological inversion. The attacker becomes the anxious one. The silent one becomes the dominant one. But silence must be intentional. You must pair it with body language that reinforces your dominance. Stillness, steady breathing, a slow blink, a relaxed posture, no twitching, no fidgeting, no rush to speak. Your silence becomes amplified when your body remains calm. People read your body more than your words. And when your body says, I am in control, your silence feels powerful instead of weak. There are 3 stages your enemies go through when you refuse to defend yourself. First comes confusion. They don't understand why you aren't reacting. They repeat themselves. They intensify their accusations. They escalate. They push harder. Then comes frustration. Your indifference agitates them. They feel powerless. They fear they've lost the upper hand. They start appearing emotional and unstable while you remain composed. Finally comes respect or fear. They stop attacking. They stop challenging. They stop poking at your boundaries. They know they cannot move you. They know they cannot manipulate you. They know you are not like everyone else. And this transformation happens without you uttering a single defensive word. But there is an even deeper layer to this strategy, one that only a few truly master. It's not just about what you avoid saying, it's about what you say instead. Machiavelli understood that the most powerful people rarely address the attack. They address the principle. They do not say, I didn't do it. They say, I focus on results. They do not say, I'm not like that. They say, people talk when they're threatened. They do not say, that's not true. They say, history will show the truth. You shift the conversation from the accusation to the bigger picture. You shift from reacting to leading. You shift from explaining to commanding. And people feel the difference. The most dangerous opponent is a person who cannot be emotionally recruited into a conflict. Someone who cannot be baited. Someone who cannot be provoked. Someone who cannot be triggered. That person becomes untouchable. When you stop defending yourself, you stop bleeding your power. You begin moving differently. You begin thinking differently. You begin choosing differently. You begin valuing your peace over pointless battles. You begin valuing your time over petty noise. You begin valuing your mission over your ego. And when your mission becomes more important than your reputation, you rise at a speed the world cannot understand. Look at history. The people who became legends were rarely the ones who explained themselves. They were the ones who kept moving forward while the world argued about them. Their silence became part of their mystique. Their refusal to justify themselves became part of their myth. They understood that power does not come from being liked or defended. It comes from being undeniable. To reach that level, you must separate yourself from the emotional impulses of ordinary people. Ordinary people chase approval. Ordinary people correct every misconception. Ordinary people want everyone to understand them. Ordinary people fear being judged. Ordinary people panic when attacked. Ordinary people react reflexively. You must become extraordinary. You must train yourself to feel the accusation, feel the pressure, feel the tension, and remain still. You must shift your focus from the noise outside to the strength inside. Because once you master that internal stillness, you become immune to manipulation. People lose power not because others take it from them, but because they give it away through their reactions. Every unnecessary word is a donation of power. Every explanation is a withdrawal from your inner authority. Every emotional reaction is a transfer of control. You must build a mindset where your identity is independent of external validation. A mindset where you are willing to be misunderstood. A mindset where silence is not a retreat, but a stance. A mindset where your actions carve your reputation, not your words. A mindset where the opinions of others are like passing weather, noticed but irrelevant. And here is the final transformation. When you stop defending yourself, you stop living for others. You stop shaping your life around their expectations. You stop bending to their narratives. You stop adjusting to their insecurities. You stop performing for their approval. You reclaim your autonomy. You reclaim your focus. You reclaim your emotional sovereignty. Most people are slaves to their reputation. They wake up every day trying to protect an image. They exhaust themselves defending a version of themselves that only exists in other people's minds. They waste their power on arguments that lead nowhere. They lose their peace to people who don't matter. They let their lives be dictated by perceptions they cannot control. You must rise above that. You must understand that the world's opinion is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your path. Your responsibility is your growth. Your responsibility is your purpose. And your purpose is always bigger than petty attacks. Machiavelli said that the world respects those who appear confident and decisive, and nothing communicates confidence and decisiveness more powerfully than refusing to explain yourself. You show the world that you trust your own judgment. You show the world that you are focused on results, not noise. You show the world that you have nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to justify. Your existence becomes the evidence. Your success becomes the argument. Your growth becomes the rebuttal. When you live like this, you become a force. When you think like this, you become untouchable. When you move like this, you become someone others cannot categorize, cannot predict, cannot control. This is the Machiavellian transformation, evolving from someone who reacts to someone who commands, from someone who chases approval to someone who shapes perception, from someone who fears judgment to someone who transcends it, from someone who defends themselves to someone who never needs to. Because in the end, the most powerful person is the one who understands this simple truth. You don't gain power by being understood. You gain power by being undeniable.